What's going on, my fellow Jedi and Padawans? Welcome back to another Jedi gaming video. Thank you guys so much for coming back to the channel, and if you guys are new, welcome. Today we're going to be covering in depth the changes that came out to the Aeon Cult Exotic Gauntlets for each of our classes with Titan, Hunter, and Warlock. For our Warlock, it is the Aeon Souls, but each of our other classes have something in the exotic gauntlet form that is also Aeons, so they have the same exact 3 exotic perks on them, which you can switch between one of those 3. We have Sect of Force, Sect of Insight, as well as Sect of Vigor. So these are the 3 that got some changes. This exotic has been in the game for quite some time. Definitely has been used a lot in that end game content with being able to keep your ammo up in Sect of Insight. So we're going to cover, like I said, in depth the changes for all of these and how I kind of play with them this season. So starting us off with our Aeon Cult mod is Sect of Force. You specialize in punishing powerful combatants before they can harm your allies. Rapid precision hits with a weapon temporarily increase your reload speed as well as your weapon swap speed, so basically your handling. Now you also can stun a champion, or landing precision hits on a powerful combatant will mark them. When you mark these targets, your ally deals increased damage to the marked targets. When a combatant is first marked, nearby Aeon Cult allies who do not have the Sect of Force equipped gain grenade and melee energy. So this means other guardians on your fire team, if you have 3 warlocks all with Aeon Souls on but the other 2 aren't running Sect of Force, when you get this to proc both that nearby allies, when you mark a target, it'll give them grenade and melee energy. So this is very good with being able to have your allies spam their abilities, as well as taking down those champions and powerful combatants very easily, since your allies can also do increased damage to them. Now the thing that did get changed in this season was the quicker reload and weapon swapping that was added from the beginning with those rapid precision hits, but we did lose bonus melee, grenade, and super energy, which is what it used to give. Also in the bottom, those changes with champions as well as elites or mini bosses with that damage increase versus the marked targets. It's about 20% for those, as well as the Aeon Cult allies without that gain the grenade and melee energy when it's first marked. That is also new this season. So the way that I kind of have been using the Sect of Force this season is with the GM raid dungeon, whatever it may be that you're going into. When I have these on, using them with a precision weapon like a scout pulse, something like that, so I can continuously have those precision hits to give us the reload as well as the weapon swap, as well as mark targets for our allies. So like GMs, we can just wipe out champions and some of those orange yellow bars when we get that to proc in Sect of Force. That's kind of how I've been playing it. I know people have been using Phoenix Protocol with Polaris Lance, but you could use the Sect of Force on the Aeon Cults here with it as well, and it works very similar. Next off, we have the Sect of Insight, which is probably the most popular and most used just because of its ability to produce special as well as heavy ammo for our allies. So we specialize in empowering our allies as well as keeping them well supplied. Successive precision weapon takedowns have a chance to drop an orb of power for our allies. When we use a finisher on an elite, you generate special ammo for your fire team. When you use a finisher on a boss or mini boss, you generate heavy for your fire team. So that is so important for some of those encounters in raids, dungeons where you have to do it before they enrage and wipe the fire team. Definitely very good for keeping that DPS output up. Also, nearby cult allies who do not have the Sect of Insight gain a burst of super energy, so we're also supplying our fellow guardians in our fire team with super energy. So this thing is super good in my opinion. Like I said, probably the best out of the three for all of that situations. Now we did lose this season allies without this gain weapon damage. That's what it used to be instead of the new super energy. So this used to be even more broken because they would get that weapon damage, kind of like how we had on Sect of Force. So we'd be able to give everyone ammo as well as just juice bosses. So it used to be everything inside of just switching it on real quick, which is still kind of how I use it. Just have another build with an exotic on, switch on to the Aeon Cults real quick, do some finishers on those orange yellow bar enemies, champions to give everybody ammo that needs it, switch off of it to whatever you're using, Sunbrace or something like that was usually my go-to on a Warlock, but I know some activities now change that, where if you switch exotics you lose all of your ability energy, so you do gotta watch out for that. But in that GMs anyway, it gets locked, so Insight is a good way to keep everybody supplied. Like it said, my favorite overall. Last but certainly not least, we have Sect of Vigor. You specialize in keeping your allies in the fight, so we gain class ability energy as well as take reduced damage in the PvE world from combatants for a short time when allies die or when we revive them. Nearby critically wounded allies also take reduced damage when they are nearby you, so it does definitely help with keeping them alive. Next off, we do also have the addition with Aeon Cult allies who do not have the Sect of Vigor role also gain class ability energy while critically wounded. So when you have that third team, again, when they get critically wounded, they're going to get class ability energy. So our barricade, dodge, or our rift. Now in this season, the change with damage resistance in that PvE on death or revives definitely is super nice, because it does feel good with that reduction of damage compared to other things like emergency reinforcement. So feels good for that. That is new. There used to be a burst of healing or overshield for allies on Supercast, which was very good for keeping you alive as well as your allies again, but that has been replaced with those bottom two, with the damage resistant for critically wounded allies as well as the class ability regen for those allies. So this is probably my least used, just because the other two definitely have more practical uses. Things like a bubble, a well still definitely overtake all of this. Even a shield barricade feels a little bit better in my personal opinion, like on a Titan, but that damage reduction definitely helps if you're a little under leveled, something like that. You could throw this on. That's kind of how I use it, but like I said, definitely didn't use Sect of Vigor too often compared to some of our other ones. So that was all of the changes. I know it was a lot, but definitely for me, I would go with Sect of Insight first, Sect of Force second, and then Sect of Vigor last. The changes definitely feel too good. Sect of Insight used to be so broken with that weapon damage boost, so it definitely feels more evened out with the other two. Have been using Sect of Force more often, but hopefully y'all have a version of these Aeon Souls if you want to get cheeky with your fellow Guardians, so you can get that bottom perk, bottom buff to proc as well with that grenade and melee energy in the marked targets with Sect of Force, with the super energy and Sect of Insight, and then with the class ability energy and Sect of Vigor. Make sure your fellow allies have on the Aeons as well, just with a different sect on. So thank you guys again for watching. Truly appreciate you guys. I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.